I'm Hannah Kaplan, and this is the WCS Wild Audio Podcast, where you'll find reported audio stories covering the latest news and newsmakers from the Wildlife Conservation Society's Global Conservation Program, Zoos and Aquarium, and their many partners. We've got a great show today, so let's get to it.
For World Oceans Month, we turn to coastal Patagonia on the southern cone of South America. This biodiverse seascape is home to some of the continent's most productive marine ecosystems. But climate change is beginning to reshape this remarkable region in ways scientists are only starting to understand. WCS's Nat Moss reports on an ambitious effort to help Patagonia adapt to an uncertain future.
At the southern end of South America, Patagonia remains one of the world's great marine wildernesses. Along Argentina's Atlantic coast, whales, penguins, sea lions, and elephant seals gather in extraordinary numbers. Across the Andes in Chile, glaciers feed a maze of fjords and channels that support an abundance of marine life. For Valeria Falabella of WCS Argentina, a childhood encounter with an orca helped set her on a path toward marine conservation.
I remember one specific event. I was very young, like probably 11 years old or similar, and an adult killer whale, an orca, appears dead in the coast with a calf alive by herself. The calf was all the time vocalizing. It's difficult for me to describe how sad I felt at that moment and how useless, right? How useless I felt that moment. And I think that this event marked my life. And when I grew up, I realized that I was able to be a marine biologist and maybe try to understand which are the threats of these amazing species and try to work for their conservation.
Today, Valeria, or Vale as she's known, serves as Director of Coastal and Marine Conservation at WCS Argentina. Across the continent, her colleague Montserrat Rodriguez, a conservation scientist for WCS Chile, traces her own connection to the ocean to childhood visits to the beach with her family.
I was born on the central coast of Chile, and growing up here, my father used to take me always to the beach, and that's really where I first discovered this incredible diversity, and I was always very fascinated about marine life, their different colors, and all the different kind of animals that you can encounter on the beach, on the sand, on the rocks. So from an early age, I developed a really close connection to the ocean, and that was actually what led me to study marine biology.
Vale and Montserrat are now helping lead Resilient Patagonia, an initiative that brings together scientists, conservation organizations, governments, and communities in Argentina and Chile. The effort begins with a recognition that Patagonia is globally important for conservation.
I think that a few places in the world offer such an amazing natural sites as the coast of Patagonia. The Patagonian Sea is highly productive ocean, the most productive in the southern hemisphere.
When Vale says the Patagonian Sea is productive, she means its capacity to support large populations of marine organisms and the rich food webs that sustain wildlife, fisheries, and people. Montserrat elaborates.
The fact that it's a really productive marine ecosystem that supports all kind of marine species is very important. And because of this productivity, these waters also sustain a lot of commercially important fishes, and that helps many communities that depend of them. So all this marine life, it's everything connected. It's important globally. It's also one of the ecosystems that are still relatively intact compared to other places in the world.
That idea of an intact ecosystem is important. It means it still retains much of its ecological integrity, with species, habitats, and natural processes continuing to function together as they should. The challenge now is to understand how climate change and other environmental threats may alter these ecosystems in the decades ahead.
Well, resilience is the ability to handle with and recover from impacts. And today, we and the world is facing an unprecedented biodiversity and climate crisis. So it is really essential to understand and design strategies to strengthen the ecological integrity of our ocean and our ecosystems and our species so they are best adapted and in better conditions to face all these growing impacts.
Researchers are already observing changes. In the waters off Argentina, warming seas are affecting the distribution of marine life.
The northern Argentina, Uruguay, and the southern Brazil ocean area has been identified as a global hotspot of marine climate change. So this water is getting warmer faster than any other oceans in the world. And this creates changes in terms of the distribution of species.
Across the border in Chile, scientists are seeing something different in some fjords and channels, where glacial meltwater locally cools surface waters, even as the broader ocean continues to warm.
Here, in the case of Chile and Patagonia, we have to think about this vast and still largely unknown territory. And even for scientists, is still unknown. And we have this incredible complex system with fjord, channels, and bays, each with unique characteristics and probably a lot of endemic species or biodiversity that we still haven't fully discovered. And scientists are seeing a little of the contrary effect of the Argentinian Patagonia is this cooling effect because of the melting of the glaciers.
Warming air in the atmosphere is making glaciers melt more rapidly, and the changes brought on by the introduction of new cooler water into the ocean from melting glaciers can have consequences that ripple through the food web.
We are seeing that many of these fjords are being affected by this glacier melt, and changes in the freshwater input to these fjords can alter all the dynamic of the nutrient cycles and the dynamic of the species and the predator and prey interactions. And of course, that can affect even the fisheries that sustain the communities. So that can be really problematic.
On the Argentina side of Patagonia, Vale points to an example of how precisely climate change is impacting the distribution of species, with an example involving Magellanic penguins. As ocean temperatures have warmed, the distribution of the fish that these penguins prey upon has also changed, and scientists believe those changes may be contributing to shifts in the size and distribution of penguin colonies.
The historical big colony, Punta Tombo, well, the population of Punta Tombo has been decreasing very high, and the colonies in Chubut province are increasing. Now the biggest colony of Magellanic penguins is in Peninsula Valdez. It's not more Punta Tombo. And this is because the prey of the penguins are changing in its distribution for the changes of the temperature of the ocean.
Practically speaking, this highlights a challenge facing conservationists. Punta Tombo was originally protected because of its importance to Magellanic penguins. But climate change has contributed to a large number of those penguins relocating further north to Peninsula Valdez. More and more, we're likely to see species move out of an area in which they were previously protected due to shifts in nutrients or food sources or other issues resulting from climate change. To address that phenomenon, Vale says conservationists need to design protected areas with climate change in mind.
They need to understand the climate impact of our marine ecosystems in order to try to understand how should we design a network of climate-informed protected areas. 2 years ago, we launched a research with very good scientists in Argentina that identifies several variables like seasurfer temperature or productivity, all variables that impact in species and ecosystems if they change a lot. And we study the trends in the last few decades and also the projections in the future. And this research was the seed for the main goals of this new program, the resilience of the Patagonian Sea.
And while Resilient Patagonia researchers are carefully tracking the impact of climate change on marine ecosystems, the initiative is also focused on people. Communities throughout Patagonia depend on healthy marine ecosystems, and scientists are working to ensure local voices are part of the conversation.
Well, we know that communities are absolutely central to the vision of the resilient Patagonia. And we need communities to be engaged and aware of the effects of climate change. And we need them to protect more effectively and manage better marine protected areas. So communities depend on marine ecosystems, but also they directly benefit from them.
What makes the initiative distinctive is its regional approach. Ocean currents, migratory species, and the impacts of climate change do not stop at national borders. Addressing those challenges requires cooperation across Patagonia's shared marine ecosystems. Vale says that was the idea behind the creation of the Forum for the Conservation of the Patagonia Sea, a network of more than 30 NGOs in the Southern Cone representing Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil.
We are connected by different coastal and pelagic currents. The distribution of the species represent exactly this connection. So what we need is regional vision and regional strategies to face the threats that are similar, but at the same time are different, because the resilience actions and strategies are like tailored for every different species and every different marine protected areas and every different ecosystems.
As we celebrate World Oceans Month, Montserrat is inspired by the ambitious vision of Resilient Patagonia.
I dream of a Patagonian sea that is well connected by an effectively managed network of marine protected area that can adapt to the different challenges. It can be climate challenge, it can be human pressures, but it will also mean that decisions made toward this marine protected network are consistently guided by scientific evidence, and the people can keep benefit from the ecosystem services that this amazing and incredible Patagonian ocean can provide.
For her own part, Vale hopes that the work of the Resilient Patagonia Initiative helps people understand their own connection to the ocean.
Every time you breathe, you are connected with the ocean. 50% of our oxygen is produced in the ocean. So you need to feel the connection. You need to understand this connection. We need more awareness. We need more care. We need more empathy. We need more respect and sensitive for nature and, of course, for the ocean and its biodiversity.
Patagonia may seem remote from many of our lives, but the changes unfolding there are part of a global story. Through Resilient Patagonia, scientists, communities, and conservationists are working together to understand those changes and prepare for what comes next. For WCS Wild Audio, this is Nat Moss.
Today's episode was produced and reported by Nat Moss, with help from Dan Rosen and Hannah Kaplan. The WCS Wild Audio Podcast is a production of the Wildlife Conservation Society. Stay tuned for our next episode. And don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show wherever you get your podcasts.